Sunny skies expected tomorrow and reaching close to 70 degrees for the high. Again today, mostly sunny skies, a high of 65.
Some people just have a knack for being there when you need them the most, like your third grade classmate who sticks up for you against that bullet, the neighbor who gives you the jump start, and the friend who chases away that flock of geese at your outdoor wedding. Your State Farm agent has your back, too, through good times and the not so good. And who's got your agent's back? State Farm, the company people have trusted for more than 90 years. We're here to help life go right. Call State Farm agent Barkley Hudson at 270-365-7521.
Here's some important news from Cozy Living Interiors and Boutique. Even though the furniture store is not open to foot traffic, they are a U-Haul provider. U-Haul business is a life-sustaining retail business under the State of Emergency Executive Order for Kentucky. New hours are 9 to 4. Call the store and get in touch with Hab if you need a U-Haul. You can also go to the U-Haul website, and trucks can be rented 24/7. Cozy Living Interiors and Boutique, Princeton. They can't wait to reopen and serve you.
Each year, thousands of adults in the United States get sick from diseases that could be prevented by vaccines. People with diabetes, both type 1 and 2, are at a higher risk for serious problems from certain vaccine-preventable diseases. Diabetes can make it harder for your immune system to fight infections. The flu can raise your blood glucose to dangerous levels. People with diabetes are at increased risk for death from lung infection, like pneumonia, even meningitis. And people with diabetes have a higher risk of hepatitis B than the rest of the population. Vaccines are the safest way for you to protect your health, even if you're taking prescription medications. Vaccine side effects are usually mild and go away on their own. Most health insurance plans cover recommended vaccines. Ask your healthcare provider. For more information on vaccines, go to cdc.gov. Search vaccines. Information provided by Pennyrile District Health Department.
Out of an abundance of caution and in your best interest, public access to the Princeton Electric Plant Board office is restricted. Normal business operations will continue utilizing the drive-through window. Bill payments using online methods, bank drafts, and credit cards are encouraged, but checks and cash will continue to be accepted methods of payment. Utilizing the free online payment system from the comfort of your own home is both safer and more efficient for you. You will only need your account number, which is located on your bill, and a credit card or debit card to use this convenient feature. In an effort to help our community and assist our neighbors during this time of uncertainty, Princeton Electric Plant Board invites customers to call the office if they need additional time to pay their electric bill due to the loss of work. We appreciate our customers and look forward to working through this together.
Imagine this. It's late at night, it's cold and dark, and you have a flat tire. One never knows when old Bessie's gonna cause you problems. There's only one place to call, Wallace Towing and Recovery in Princeton. Wallace Towing and Recovery is a 24/7 towing and recovery service. You can count on Wallace Towing and Recovery to get you safe and back on the road or to a repair shop. Wallace Towing and Recovery will jumpstart your vehicle, change a tire, deliver gas, unlock a door, or haul it to the garage or scrapyard. Wallace Towing and Recovery has you covered in Princeton and surrounding areas. Call Wallace Towing and Recovery. Check them out on Facebook, and when you need a tow or roadside help, call Wallace Towing and Recovery at 270-963-9081.
It's time for your SportsEdge.com Sideline Report with Todd Griffin. Talking sports and more here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY and worldwide at WPKYonline.com. Here's your host, Todd Griffin.
Good morning, everyone. The Sideline Report is on the air from 1035 West Main Street in Princeton. Thanks for joining us here on WPKY on a Thursday morning. This is Todd Griffin of WPKY Radio and YourSportsEdge.com. Again, thanks for joining us. And we're going to be talking UK sports on the show today. We have longtime UK superfan Kent Reed with us on the phone. And Kent, good morning. Thanks for being on the show today.
Well, good morning. Glad to be here.
Just
glad to talk some sports.
Absolutely. Just tell us a little bit, how did you become such a UK fan?
Well, I guess that started in Bardstown, where we had moved from Mayfield. Well, two things. One, Herbie Hunt lived right down the street. He was Kentucky's quarterback along with Bob Hardy from Paducah right after Babe Pirelli. But I remember hearing the 1951 Sugar Bowl on the radio from Bardstown, and the adults making a big to-do over it, even my mother, who was not much of a sports fan. And it was the Kentucky-Oklahoma game on New Year's of 51, I believe. And Kentucky upset Oklahoma. Oklahoma hadn't been beaten in, I think they had a 33-game win streak. So they hadn't been beaten in 3 years. Bud Wilkinson was their coach. A young Bear Bryant was our coach. And Kentucky upset them. So I remember all the excitement about that day. And that was Pirelli's senior year. And
now, is it fair to say that you're probably as big or bigger a football fan than basketball?
I probably am, because football's the first thing that I was exposed to. And two other things. Bill and Marge Samuels, that owned Maker's Mark Bourbon, had season tickets, had several tickets, and we had, they took young Bill and I quite often. And I'm a little mixed up in my mind because I saw Pirelli play, and I'm describing Pirelli's last game. So I must have seen him during the 50 season, and then the bowl game came afterwards. Another factor was right after Pirelli graduated, the two quarterbacks were Western Kentucky boys, Bob Hardy, Paducah, and Herbie Hunt, Mayfield. And they played under the Bear and didn't have the super seasons that Pirelli and Bob Gain and those teams had. They were still had good football teams. And we would make the trip from Bardstown over an old road, I think they called Wildcat Road. We went over a river. I don't even know the route, but their seats were up near a couple of Kentucky players' parents. Harry and Larry Jones were twins from Louisville, and they wore, I've never seen this again, they wore numbers 1A and 1B.
Oh, really?
I've never seen that again.
Yeah.
That's been a long, long time ago.
You mentioned Bear Bryant there. What do you remember about the Bear, and did you ever get a chance to meet him?
I don't. I'm trying to think if we got any dressing room. We were fairly young. I vaguely remember after a game, exiting the game, and he had the team practicing. I think full board practicing out in either in the end zone or right outside the stadium. The stadium back then was old Stowe Field, sort of right across from down the street from Memorial Coliseum, where basketball was played then. And so for several years, I guess through the early 50s, we went to Kentucky football games. And I didn't see a basketball game inside Memorial Coliseum until I think I was a junior in high school, or sophomore maybe, in about 57. Now, I had listened to the basketball games, and Kay Wood, of course, called them, and everybody followed that too. But yes, I was a little bit, and always have been, and still am, just a little bit more of a football fan than a basketball fan, although I've been to a zillion basketball games and had season tickets for both.
Yeah, I think that's a little unique. Most people grew up being UK basketball fans and then kind of picked up the football team, but you know, there are some of us out there who like the football as much as the basketball.
Yeah, I've got some buddies that feel the same way. I've got several buddies who we went to a lot of away games. I mean, we would go see LSU and Baton Rouge and stay in New Orleans, and we'd go to Columbia, South Carolina. We'd go to Georgia, and games all over the SEC, usually by car. And several of those super fans that went to all those games with me have passed away.
Talking this morning with Kent Reed, a UK fan, and going to talk some more football with him. Going to talk some basketball and maybe some other things this morning. So, Kent, stay there. We got to get a commercial break, and then we'll be back with more after this on the Sideline Report on 1580 103.3 WPKY.
At ABC Finance, we have always been committed to keeping our customers and our staff safe and healthy.
In response to the recent COVID-19 coronavirus outbreak, we have implemented several new policies company-wide to ensure the safety and well-being of all.
This includes limiting access to parts of our office to the public, isolating loan closings to one area, and frequently sanitizing all hard, frequently touched surfaces.
We've also asked our staff to please stay home in the event they are feeling unwell.
If you, as a customer, are unwell or are uncomfortable with getting out of the house, stay home. And please remember, payments can be made by phone or online at abcfinanceonline.com.
You can also apply for a loan on our website with fast decisions and quick turnaround time.
If you have any additional questions, please contact the office nearest you. Locations are listed on our website, abcfinanceonline.com.
Also, follow us on Facebook for the latest information. And stay safe from all of us at ABC Finance.
Your local McDonald's wants you to know that they're ready to serve you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They've always had their drive-thru, and now they're offering curbside pickup service as well. To avoid the wait in the drive-thru, you can download the McDonald's app and try curbside pickup. They appreciate your patience and understanding during this time. We are all having to adjust to this new way of life. It's temporary, but in the meantime, enjoy breakfast, lunch, or dinner at your local McDonald's.
It's sad but true. Lots of folks think that food comes from the grocery store. Although that's the final stop, let's remember the first stop, the American farmer. It's the American farmer that faces uncertain markets, uncertain weather conditions, and a multitude of issues that most of us couldn't even understand. So the next time you're becoming impatient as you travel slowly behind farm machinery on the roadway, remember they're not only feeding the Commonwealth and our country, they're feeding the world. If you ate today, think of farmer.
URide realizes things are a bit difficult for us all right now. They want you to know that they're committed to helping. They are trying to make doing business as easy as possible. You can make your payments by check or cash through the door, Monday through Friday during regular business hours. They are there to receive it. Or, for your convenience, you can also pay by phone at no charge. If you have any questions or need assistance with a vehicle purchase, call 270-365-3018. That's URide in Princeton.
Back on the Sideline Report on a Thursday morning at WPKY. Thanks for joining us this morning. Kent Reed, local UK super fan, is on the phone with us this morning. And Kent, we were talking about UK football, and as far as you've been watching the Cats, what were maybe some of your favorite UK football teams through the years?
Well, Todd, my brain cells are just starting to flow a little bit, what ones I have left. It just popped into my mind that I did see a football game before listening to that game on the radio. The first football game I remember, Kentucky won 73-13, I believe was the score. And I remember the team we played against was Tennessee Tech. And I remember the fullback, Bill Lescavar, having a big game, and I'm sure a lot of other ones did, getting 73 points. The Bear played a different schedule than what we play now. They played a 10-game schedule and only 5 SEC games. So when Bear could go 3-2 in those 5 SEC games, he was 8-2. And he played, of course, Tennessee every year and played the normal SEC schools at that time. And at that time, Georgia Tech and Tulane were in the SEC. But Bear also, he knew how to cherry pick his schedule. The other 5 games were with people like the Citadel, Tennessee Tech, like I said, Villanova. Trying to think of the ones, but there wasn't much chance of losing those 5 breathers, because they were usually pretty weak teams.
Well, and those games
we
are
had a
probably
good
home
roster.
games too, right?
Pardon me?
A lot of those games are probably home games for the Cats too.
Yeah, they were. Because I've got programs from some of those games. And so you grow up not knowing who you're playing. You don't understand the difference in playing Auburn and Tulane as a little boy, and you just know your team beat the heck out of the other one. You feel like you're great. Your team's super, and they were very good. But you do realize there are other factors as you get older. You look back and you look at the schedule, and some people still don't look at who you play, but they play a rough schedule now.
Well, and the Cats went 8-5 last season. And Ken, I thought the 8-5 last year was even more impressive than the 10-3 record from 2 years ago.
Well, we have averaged 8 wins for the last 4 years.
That's a pretty good run.
32 games in the last 4 years. We've averaged, I say Coach Stokes has been averaging 8 a year, which is unprecedented. And he's built the roster up. He and his assistants have built the roster up of all times to have this big question of will we have football this fall, as we were going to have a heck of a team this year if we get to play.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some good players before. They've never had depth like they got now, but they're stacked.
Well, and you look back to last season, and that season looked like it was going to get away from them a little bit. And how do you explain what happened with Lynn Bowden at quarterback?
I had watched a lot of film on Bowden on the internet as a senior. I'd heard about him, and he was the most phenomenal open field runner I've ever seen, I think, in high school. And people were telling Coach Merrill and the UK people early on that this was the best back in that area in many a year. And Claret and several good backs had gone to Ohio State had come through there. But he was just unbelievable on film, and I was anticipating his arrival. I didn't know if he'd wind up at running back or wide receiver or quarterback or defensive back, but he would be good anywhere you put him. But it was astounding to watch. Kentucky's line had been built out. We had a good offensive line, pretty good, real good defense. But I never dreamed we could go through the schedule that we played, so many SEC games during the year, and the other team know we were not going to pass the ball. Every play was going to be a run, and every play just about was going to be Bowden carrying the ball. Well, that sets up an opposing defense where, and you'd think that's very stoppable, but they couldn't stop it. Bowden was really something, and we're in a really good period right now. We just had Snell record-setting performances, and we're going to bowl games now and beating good teams in bowl games like Penn State, and it's a good time for Kentucky football.
For sure, that bowl game last year was exciting, and to pull it out there at the very end and then to tack on another touchdown on the last play, how do you kind of rank where UK football is now to where maybe some of the better UK teams of the past were at?
Well, we're really probably comparing now to back when Bear was there. Bear had great players. Steve started out with a very, very awful roster. He had a bunch of players that were not at that SEC level the first couple of years, and they lost some games. Everybody criticized them on. But once he's gotten the players in there, and he's got a very good recruiting staff. Now, Bear had a good staff also. In fact, we've had some good football coaches and staffs over the years. I'm trying to think. Let's see. Who followed Bear was Blanton Collier. Now, Blanton Collier was criticized a lot. I remember when I was 12, 13, 14, all the adults would say, he's no Bear Bryant. But Collier was a really, really good coach and went on to coach the Cleveland Browns to an NFL championship. And talking of good assistants, I was a senior in high school in Bardstown in 1959. The staff of Bear Bryant formed the only undefeated pro team ever, the Miami Dolphins. The coaching staff, Don Shula became the head coach of the Dolphins. Snellenberger became the offensive coordinator, and Bill Arnsperger became the defensive coordinator. They all came off of Blanton Collier's 1959 staff. A lot of people don't know that, but that was the brain trust of the only pro undefeated team ever.
Looking ahead to this fall, and I do want to be positive and think that, hey, maybe there is going to be college football and everything else getting back to normal at some point this fall. But what do you see the quarterback situation for UK coming up? Is Terry Wilson going to come back and be the quarterback?
Wilson's rehabbing. We're waiting on, he was the top quarterback in Florida when he was a senior and went to Auburn, and he's transferred to us. And then we got the outstanding freshman quarterback from Lexington, Allen. And then the quarterback that subbed in last year early on before he got hurt, he was playing pretty well. So they've got the transfer quarterback from Auburn could get eligible. The NCAA is supposed to be lenient on the teams this year about transfers, and it's yet to be seen, but he could get eligible, and then you could get your starting quarterback back, and I think he would be first in line. But we could have quarterback depth all of a sudden.
Yeah, that would be weird 1 year after having to take a wide receiver and make him a quarterback to all of a sudden having a lot of depth there. And looking ahead to this fall, at least to me, it looks like the schedule gets a little tougher this year. The Cats have to go to Florida, to Auburn, Missouri, Tennessee, and Louisville. Seems like a pretty tough stretch to me.
Well, we've been playing Florida off their feet the last few years. We've lost some close games that we could have, should have won. And Tennessee's had our number for a long time, but we can beat Tennessee and have, but they've snuck up on us the last couple of years where we were thinking it was going to be a win. Louisville's fallen behind a little bit on Kentucky football. And I'm not saying that's going to be an easy game because it won't be, but they're not the team when they had Bridgewater and who was the other quarterback that was a good runner?
Lamar Jackson?
Yeah. Those teams were exceptional. But I think their recruiting has fallen off just a tad while Kentucky's is picking up. I've never seen Kentucky with the depth that they've got. They're talking about this year trying to play Georgia for the East Championship. We've got 2-3 nose tackles. We've got depth all over the place. They thought they were going to be weak at defensive back last year, and they played exceptionally well, and they're all back, plus a player that was injured is back. And then we've got another transfer besides the quarterback, Gatewood, in a transfer who was also the number one defensive back in Louisiana 3 years ago. I'm trying to think of his name.
Well, when you start talking about those recruits, though, to me, the defensive line is always the tough guys to get. You can really tell that a team is improving its recruiting when you start seeing those 4 and 5 stars on the defensive line, because I think those are the hardest guys to go out and find.
They are. Normally, I've known recruiting coordinators for several years, back to Dan Leal and Bassett and different ones, and they've always said that defensive tackles and defensive backs, particularly cornerbacks, are the hardest thing to find. But we're loaded up. We're loaded up on the offensive line and the defensive line. I mean, they're among the better lines in the SEC and the country. So that we can go toe-to-toe with some people now that sometimes, well, particularly like Georgia and Florida, they've got the skilled people on us. But now we're getting quarterbacks and receivers, and we're narrowing the gap. And that's all you can ask for. We can't produce 200 Division I prospects in Kentucky like there are in Georgia and Florida. And Mississippi's coming up fairly fast after them. Georgia's come leaps and bounds in high school football and produces almost as many as Florida, and that sort of broke the records there. So they're pretty.
Now, looking back over your time as a UK football fan, do you have any favorite players or anything that come to mind? Okay, I think we've lost Kent, so we'll take a break here. Getting to a break, we'll try to get Kent back on the show in just a little bit and continue here on the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Brantley Furniture.
Your WPKY Weather Center forecast. Enjoy some more of that sunshine today, reaching a high of 65 degrees. Back down to 47, partly cloudy skies by tonight. Partly sunny skies tomorrow, reaching a high near 70. May see some clouds and some rain showers by Saturday. And into Saturday night, a high of 68, and overnight low down to 51. Once again, mostly sunny skies today, reaching a high of 65.
Christian Care Center of Catawba announces Jita Shabda, their new medical director, and that they now have on-site physician services specializing in internal medicine and pulmonary, Monday through Friday during regular business hours. Christian Care Center of Catawba is Joint Commission certification with 57 private rooms, all covered by private pay, insurance, Medicare, or Medicaid. They also have a designated area for smokers. It's the next best thing to home. Call Christian Care Center of Catawba, nurturing body, mind, and spirit.
Local businesses have supported us in every regard. Now it's our turn to support them. Here's a way you can help.
Pay by cash or check rather than credit card when possible. Businesses pay up to 4% per transaction. This helps our local businesses with cash flow.
The Edge Media Group encourages you to support local. Be sure to post what you're doing to show your support. #SupportLocal.
Back on the Sideline Report on 1580 103.3 WPKY. Thanks for joining us this morning. Talking to Kent Reed on the phone this morning and talking a lot of UK sports, and we think we have Kent back now. Kent, I was asking you about you're following the UK Wildcat football team and maybe some of the favorite players you've had through the years.
Well, let me go with favorite games first off.
Okay.
One of the big games I saw in Stowe Field, Ole Miss was a powerhouse back in the early days of the 50s and 60s and won several national championships. And we had Ole Miss 2 years in a row. And one game, we were behind, and Larry Seipel, our punter, took off with, he ran where he was supposed to punt it and ran one about 70-something yards for a touchdown in Old Stowe Field and got a win there. I think that was 64. And then in 65, we had to play Ole Miss down there, not in Oxford, but in Jackson. And Rod Whittington and I went to that game. We were in Memphis in pharmacy school. Ole Miss was a big favorite. Kentucky had some good players on that team, though. We had Rick Norton, Roger Byrd, Rick Kessner. Ed Settle was on that team. In fact, right at that, there was a time period that Kentucky had recruited Kerry Curling, Bill Henry Cartwright, Ed Settle, Garnet Scott, Joe B. Loftus, and Donnie Miller. And I may have missed somebody, but we had a lot of players from Caldwell County going up there during those years. And Ed Settle was in that game. I believe Kerry Curling became the co-captain while he was there, and he was a 5'11", 190-pound nose guard. But Kerry was a super player, as everybody from here will remember. Games after that, Ole Miss, we upset Ole Miss down there at Jackson. The first play of the game, Kentucky threw a halfback pass and completed it for a touchdown, and they called it back. And we thought, oh gosh, that's over with. We had our shot and blew it. They did the same thing on the first play of the second half. Roger Byrd threw a halfback pass for a touchdown. Remember Tom Becker, who's married to Kitty Bennett from Mayfield, had a big game. Kessner had a big game. He was one of the best ends I ever saw up there, both ways. He was a tremendous offensive end and a tremendous defensive end. You went both ways back then. Duck Settle would come in at a defensive back for Roger Bird or Rick Norton sometimes. And that team had a bunch of stars on it. They were all Kentucky boys, too. But they didn't have any depth. And that team, I think, wound up, I think they won 5 games one of the years and 6 games one of the year, and they never got a 7-win season. But Bird and several of them went on to the pros. Sam Ball over here at Henderson. That was a big win. Of course, there was great wins against Louisville sometimes. The very first game from Papa John's Stadium in Louisville, when Snellenberger was there, they had Redmond at quarterback, and we had Couch. Mummy was there, and it was the hottest game I've ever been to. People were passing out like flies. One of my best friends, who was a super fan, they left their seats and didn't come back at halftime. It took a lot of guts to just watch that game, but the game was so good. I got 1 bottle of water at halftime by being aggressive at the concession stand, or maybe with somebody walking around with water. And then assistant coach Mike Fanoga threw me a bottle of water for Peggy and I. No, it's Paulette. I forgot. After the game, and the first game in Papa John's Stadium was 68-34, Kentucky.
Yeah, that was kind of Tim Couch's coming out party.
Yeah, it was, and he had a lot of great games after that, and that new offense really threw a lot of people. We got some big wins with that. I've seen us beat Alabama and Florida State, Clemson, a lot of good teams during a stretch there. Sometimes, the Florida State game, for example, they had a bunch of players out. They had a whole bunch of players out, like maybe 40 or 45 or something, and everybody thought, okay, well, they don't have any players left. We're going to beat them. And then I looked and did my homework. They still had 50-something 4 and 5-star players on their roster when we played them, and we had 1. So we weren't like the overwhelming favorite, didn't have what you call sides on them. But trying to think of some more big games.
Well, certainly the bowl game last year was a big win for the Cats, and that whole season, it seems like a year before last. To me, the game that sticks out from the 10-3 season was the game they pulled out up at Missouri when it looked like they were probably beat.
Yeah, that was a pass play to Conrad they got an interference call at the end of the game. He got one more play. And usually the breaks go against us. Over the years, it seemed like, but we got a break that went with us on that one, and that was a good game.
So as far as favorite players, have you seen anybody through the years that just really stood out?
Well, on the first team, Bob Gain, who was the Outland Award winner as the top lineman in the country, and Babe Pirelli were both outstanding. Trying to think of who. Dickie Lyons Sr. was off a good individual, and we had different All-American linebackers and linemen, but it would usually be just one really great guy on a team, no numbers. I always had some good linebackers, and I'm racking my brain. Lou Michaels was a standout. Lou Michaels was just an animal. They had to bring his brother down from Cleveland Browns, Walt Michaels, to calm him down on the UK campus every once in a while. He could whip half a line by himself. He whipped Tennessee so bad one year. He punted and kicked and played defensive tackle and defensive end. I think that was against Johnny Majors, and the story goes around that they were flying to an All-Star game later in the year, and Majors hid from him on the plane going out to wherever the All-Star game was. He didn't want to see Majors again because he had terrorized him. He was one like that went in, grabbed everybody, sorted out the offensive lineman until he got to the ball carrier, and then he went down hard. There have been a lot of great players come through, individuals. My brain's still not in full function, but it's been a rough ride of football. We've had quite a few years of mediocre to even bad football. A couple of times I thought they were going to get it off the ground. I thought that the team that was headed by Roger Byrd and Rick Norton and Mike McGraw and Rick Kessner was going to possibly get to several bowl games and start something, but they didn't. And right now is the next time that we're going to be up there battling Florida and Georgia and Tennessee for the SEC East with some luck and good quarterback play. We've got personnel to play with some teams like that now. And Georgia may be our main obstacle this coming fall if we get football in the fall.
We're talking this morning with Kent Reed, UK fan, talking a lot of UK sports. Going to get to basketball here in just a second, though, but we need to get to another break first. So back with more after this on the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Fredonia Valley Bank.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast, expecting to see some more sunshine today. Going to be a good day, reaching a high of 65 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy skies and overnight low down to 47. Partly sunny skies expected tomorrow and reaching close to 70 degrees for the high. Again today, mostly sunny skies, a high of 65.
In this strange new world of social distancing, we really have had to rely on technology. Well, technology may have changed dramatically over the last 8 decades of Pennyrile Electric's service to our communities, but what hasn't changed is Pennyrile Electric's commitment to making life easier and safer for our communities and our members. We are making bill paying easy. The PRECC app can be found in the iPhone App Store or Google Play. We do our best to ensure our service for our members is second to none.
A dead battery does not have to ruin your day. At Riddle's 24-Hour Towing, we provide certified AAA battery service in the Princeton and Kentucky Lakes region. Whether you're at home, shopping, or out running errands, we can help. The technician has batteries on hand at the time of testing provided by AAA East Central. So if you need a jump start or a new battery with the best warranty at a great price, give us a call. The technician is trained and certified by AAA East Central. Call Riddle's 24-Hour Towing at 270-350-6368.
This is the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY. Thanks for joining us this morning. Talking to Kent Reed about all things UK sports. And Kent, we've talked a lot about UK football, but do want to talk about the UK basketball team. The Cats are playing really well to finish off the season. 25-6, maybe prepared for a big run in the SEC tournament and then the NCAA tournament. And then things happened and we didn't get to have a tournament, but looked like the Cats were probably playing their best basketball of the season before everything was kind of shut down.
They were, and let me throw one more football. We had another, he didn't play for Caldwell County, but he's a Princeton kid, and that's D. Smith. He played for Kentucky football. one year and set a lot of receiving records. He was in the record books for quite a few seasons, and had a really big game against Tennessee in the last game of his sophomore year. And he had made first-team All-State in football and first-team All-State in basketball, but he had transferred he'd gone to Paducah instead of Caldwell County.
Well, and he's one of those rare people who played for UK and Louisville both.
That's true. He did. And I've got pictures of him in both uniforms. And he was a tremendous athlete. He would have been an awesome kick returner in the NFL and almost made the Miami Dolphins under Snellenberger, who already knew about him. Okay, basketball, I'm ready.
Well, the last time you were here, you were going to talk a lot about Adolph Rupp, and we kind of ran out of time. So just what kind of Coach Rupp stories do you have?
Well, I've got two. I never met him officially, but there was a good friend and farmer from here named Doug Ridley who was into cattle, and he knew Coach Rupp was into prize Herefords, and Doug got on the phone one day from out on his farm, and we actually talked on the telephone that day. I was amazed that I was talking or listening to Adolph Rupp, and Doug was just talking to him like another guy. He knew it was special because he was grinning from ear to ear. But that was one time, and then another time from Bardstown, the NCAA Final Four was in Louisville twice, in 59 and 63. And I went to both the Final Fours. And late in one of the games, we were moving down from nosebleed seats down to the lower arena and then down sitting in the aisles. And I looked up at one point, I'm not sure which game it was. It might have been the Loyola of Chicago-Cincinnati game. I was perched out in the aisle, and sitting next to me was Adolph Rupp in his seat. I didn't speak to him and was hoping he wouldn't run me out of there instantly, but we kept moving. The ushers were trying not to let that get out of hand, but one or two teams had been beaten and the arena was filling out. And I believe that was the 63 NCAA championships in which Loyola of Chicago won it. Cincinnati, well, let me back up. Ohio State was supposed to have a super duper team that was going to win it 3 years in a row. They had Jerry Lucas, they had Havlicek, Siegfried, and had Bobby Knight on that team, which I think is why Knight hates Kentucky so badly. Ohio State did win it, won the NCAA when all of them were sophomores. Kentucky beat them during the season, though. Star play being local boy Billy Ray Lickert. And then, instead of winning it 3 straight years, Ohio State was beaten the next 2 years by Cincinnati. Cincinnati had several Kentucky boys like, I believe it was Thacker, and I can't remember them all, but Cincinnati had a powerhouse, and they won it the next 2 years, and were supposed to win it a third year, which had been, I think, 63, and that's where they ran into Loyola Chicago. They were a ball control team, the Cincinnati team was, and they had an 18-point lead in the second half, and everybody thought that one was over. And Loyola kept chipping away and chipping away and chipping away, and sent it into overtime and won it in overtime. And that was one of the best teams I ever saw was that Loyola Chicago team. Star player was Jerry Harkness. And I think I remember the other starters were, well, maybe I don't.
Yeah, you're going to get me on that one because I don't know those.
Okay.
As far as the UK teams, though, that you've watched, to me, the 1978 team always has kind of a special place in my heart because that was the first championship that I remember. A lot of people say the 2012 team was really dominant, but as far as what you've seen, what were some of the better UK teams?
Well, the 58 team was Rupp's last championship year. I think I was a junior in high school, and I had seen them. My first game had been the year before, so I'd actually been in Memorial Coliseum and seen some of those guys play. On that 58 team, particularly Johnny Cox, had been on the freshman team the year before, and the night that I saw the varsity, Cox had gotten 44 points for the freshmen. That was Vern Hatton and Ed Beck, Krigler, and some of those guys. The 58 team was special because Coach Hall was a dear friend of mine over the years and still is. He did a wonderful job. He's the name that followed a legend in following Rupp, and everybody was hard on him and pretty unforgiving, but he did an excellent job with the program. And that 78 championship meant a lot to me. Of course, Bikino won it once. Tubby won it once. And I've gotten tired of hearing that Tubby won it with Patino's players. When you got a team, they're your players. And he won it with some players that had not been superstar players, too. Tubby had some journeyman players. Tubby was actually one of the best bench coaches I ever saw up there. He had gone all through the SEC with, I think, an 18-0 season, and was on pace, I think, to win the NCAA that year. And then Bogans got hurt right before the tournament started. We still were the number one team in the nation, and we're supposed to get the top seed of the top four seeds. Well, they put the team from the West out west. They put the team from usually North Carolina or Duke. They put them over there in their home courts, and they put the team from the West in Texas, which wasn't much of a move, but they put our team, the number one seed, which should have been had a home court advantage around here close, put us up in Big Ten territory. I think playing in Milwaukee, and I think we had to play Marquette, and then Dwayne Wade's team. And we had lost Bogans, and they had Dwayne Wade. That team got upset and didn't win it, and then Tubby did win it. Another one, though, again, without any. I guess Nazi Muhammad was his best player. He had Shimu Evans and Scott Padgett and Shepard and Mills, and that bunch. That was a special year, and I thought he did a real good coaching job then. He didn't recruit as well as some of the other coaches. Coach Hall had an excellent recruiter in Leonard Hamilton, and then the young Joe Dean, and most of the coaches had great assistants. Rupp had Harry Lancaster, who was not only his assistant coach, he was his hatchet man. And when player got out of hand at all, Rupp was hard enough on you, and then Harry, who married Monty Salzman from Bardstown, eventually, they'd get rid of a boy that had averaged maybe 40 points a game in high school, and if he wasn't performing at UK, Harry would find a way to get him off scholarship in a way. But I think Cal's got quite a bunch of assistants and some good ones, but it's changed over the years. Basketball is more competitive in the SEC than it used to be. It used to be Kentucky and little team, maybe except for LSU when they had Bob and Maravich, but we had Issel when they had Maravich, so we beat them every year then in real high-scoring games. Mike Casey was a favorite of mine, and his wreck cost him a championship. A lot of people don't remember, but one of the best teams we ever had up there would have been Issel, Pratt, and Casey's team, and they never did get to the Final Four one time. They got beat by, I think, Ohio State and can't remember. They couldn't, Jacksonville. They couldn't get to the Final Four because Casey's injury was really bad, and he was a key player on that team. They fed Issel when he was a senior. I know Chip Hutchison was up there at UK during that time, and he sort of knew Casey and some of the players, and I'd get reports from him. And
we're talking this morning with Kent Reed about UK basketball, UK football, and all things UK. Kent, looks like we're out of time. We got a lot more we could talk about, but you're going to have to come back again and be on the show again sometime and pick it up where we left off.
Well, I appreciate it. It's a honor to be on with y'all, and a lot of fun, and thank you for having me.
All right, thanks, Kent. That's Kent Reed, again, big UK fan, and always fun to talk UK sports with him. That's going to wrap up our Sideline Report today. Don't forget, we've got new sports content going up daily at yoursportsedge.com. Be sure to check that out. Right now, we have all-decade basketball teams for both the Caldwell County Tigers and Lady Tigers online right now. Also, lots of information about the teams that will be playing in the West Kentucky Hoops Classic here, December 28th and 29th. And as always, all the content at Your Sports Edge is absolutely free. Just check it out. That's yoursportsedge.com. That's going to wrap us up. This is Todd Griffin. Thanks for listening to the Sideline Report here on 1580 103.3 WPKY.
Serving Caldwell County since 1950. We're 1580 103.3 WPKY Princeton.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Chris Foster. By far a record 6.6 million people filed for unemployment last week. That's 10 million the last 2 weeks, with so many businesses slowed down.